every millennial has always grown up in a world where their money is not backed by anything tangible.
Well, not just not backed, not even defined
Yeah.
intelligibly. I mean, this is unbelievably problematic. Like if we defined a yard as a foot, which was also equal to 3 or 4 inches, like how could we build buildings in a safe and secure way? You know, if our tool that we use to perform mental calculations of length or volume or weight were as unintelligibly defined as the unit we use to perform mental calculations of value, of course we would build stuff that is, needs bailout every couple of years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Except people would be dead. And
yeah.
in this case, people are dead, because fiat currency, we're able to confiscation through inflation as a form of taxation without representation. It enables capital to be redirected and allocated to things that the market otherwise wouldn't allocate it to, things like war, things like, all this type of moral hazard. And so people do die. A lot of people die because our monetary system is so screwed up by this spurious currency instead of having sound hard money, which is an unalienable human right. It's in the US Constitution. There's a long history of why it's important. And yet, most millennials, they don't even understand the most basic facts or elements of this. I mean, who invented the gold standard? Most millennials, oh, I don't know. I mean,
Mhm.
most people, I don't know. Is Isaac Newton. Like, come on. They had bailouts. They had a bank failure in 1696. They're like, how do we fix this? They put Isaac Newton in and is master of the mint, and he develops the gold standard that lays the foundation for the peace and prosperity that was seen over the next couple hundred years. And so if we want to actually have peace, prosperity, innovation, technological growth, if we want to, I mean, one thing I really don't like is all this extreme poverty in the world. I regularly go on vacations like this to go build schools for places with extreme poverty or other types of service. And the chief reason for all of this extreme poverty is because of a lack of property rights. And the chief form of property rights is going to be your sound or hard money. And
Mhm.
so, the reason people are poor and the reason they're starving to death and the reason they die and the reason we have so much war and the reason, I mean, all of these problems in society trace back to having gotten away from sound money and being put upon by a spurious currency.
And do you feel that now that we have a form of censorship resistant sound money, and people will have that comparison moving forward, hopefully without too much manipulation? Do you think there's going to be a re-education of, because like we were saying, an entire generation has grown up with just this worthless paper money in our pockets, and that's the norm. It's the norm that our money is able to buy less year after year. So do you see a re-education moving forward, or is it going to be a hard lesson for an entire generation of people before uh, before we move on to that?
Well, I think it's already been a hard lesson. My father, when he took his first job out of college, it paid $900 a month with the railroad. It paid 25.7 ounces of gold per month, which is about $500,000 a year in today's gold prices relative to Federal Reserve notes. And so that's very illustrative of how much the standard of living has been deprecated because the resources have been reallocated. So pretty much all the benefits of the information age and personal computers and the internet and all of this stuff have not accrued to the people. So it's been a very hard lesson, and that's why they're slaves. They're in debt,
Yeah.
and borrower is lender to the saver. That's why they have student loan. That's why they have mortgages on houses. I mean, you should be able to buy a house and pay it off with 6 months of your salary when you're a brand new college graduate, if
Yeah.
not even faster, because of all the technological innovation that we've had, and the increase in productivity that's given to the economy. And so, yeah, it's been a very hard lesson, but some people just like to be slaves, I suppose. And so they'll just continue to get to be slaves because guess what? There's AI and robotics and tons of automation on the horizon. And so you're either going to get on the train or you're going to, you're going to get kind of run over by it economically. And Bitcoin is definitely a tool that people can use to advance their own freedom. And what I mean by that is it's your tool for monetary sovereignty. I mean, that's why I funded Armory, which is free open source software. Like, you don't have to pay anybody for it, and you can hold the private keys to your money yourself. It's still like the Swiss Army knife of holding your coins in Bitcoin in the safest, most secure way, because you use the Bitcoin core for the network consensus. You use Armory to hold the private keys. You can actually even point Armory at other blockchains, so you could use it to hold your Bitcoin Cash or whatever too, if you're a little bit more technologically sophisticated and savvy. But it's wielding that type of monetary sovereignty that will enable people to take territory in their own life, meaning take additional freedom. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm sorry, but freedom is increasingly becoming a luxury good. And you're going to have to be able to afford it if you want to have it. And there's no more free riding off of the founding fathers of the United States. Like, sorry, they've been dead like 240 years. And every major clause in the Constitution that protects freedom has been massively chipped away. And so if you want freedom, you're going to have to claim it. If you want it, come and claim it. And the way you claim it, one of the easiest ways where you can secure that protection from violence and assert your freedom in the cheapest way possible is with monetary sovereignty with something like Bitcoin. And so you take that territory on the blockchain and you just don't give it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you got to buy your freedom, just like if you were a slave in the 1840s or whatever, you got to buy your freedom. Like, sorry, you thought you were free, but you're not, because, like, look at the world. Especially if you're in debt or whatever, figure out some good financial management practices. I personally avoid debt like I'd avoid cholera or some type of nasty plague. And I mean, I'm just a debt destroyer, especially with Bitcoin, because this black hole of Bitcoin just kind of sucks in all this debt and just poof, it's gone. So, so anyways, not to hijack your
Oh,
agenda or
no,
anything,
no.
but
I love these kind of rants because a lot of people, they come into this not understanding what the value of a system like this is until they realize the fallacies of the current system that we're working with today. So it's refreshing to hear stuff like this. And I think
and it's the foundation that those of us who have been in Bitcoin very early, it's the foundation, the ideological foundation that we have built all of this on is censorship resistance, meaning that you have an immutable form of digital cash. I mean, it's the holy grail for the people who've built the internet. And we built the internet, these internet protocol guys, they built the internet in a way that it would be censorship resistant and allow and enable this free flow of ideas and information. Now you see SOPA and PIPA, and they're all governments across the world, the Great Firewall of China, they're trying to interrupt at a technical level this censorship resistance of the internet because they really don't like the free flow of ideas. It's been a real thorn in their side because, as Mises says, ideas can only be overcome by other ideas. Power and force are impotent against the power of ideas. And it's the ideas that uphold ideologically their regimes, their fiat currencies, because those are the common stocks of their nations. And so now we've got a tool that allows you to enables you to transfer value over a communications channel and secure this protection from violence at such a low cost. That's a very dangerous idea to their regime. And so yeah, they're going to try to interrupt that at a technical level, but that this is where the great fight for humanity and humanity's future is currently taking place, is like at the core of Bitcoin, because this is such an important thing for our property rights and our human rights and all of this stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, it's very exciting. If people have to claim their monetary sovereignty if they want to have it. I mean, the cypherpunks, you can write code to change the world, but people have to run it. for it to actually be of efficaciousness in their individual lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see when we're discussing how important some of these core values are, why people get so passionate about there's tons of bickering in the crypto space because everybody holds their own ideals of what they want the system to be. And we've seen a lot of that lately. And I'm going to use this as a bit of a segue into some of the recent news. So we had the SegWit 2x agreement, which was a mishmash of two polar opposite ideals. let's can you hold that up one more time?
Yeah, so here's the fork, the Bitcoin fork, and there's no 2x. So
That's awesome.